I have to admit a pet peeve of mine. This minor pet peeve comes from questions that I get asked about player development from parents. And when I say minor, what I mean is I'm raging inside. But I wouldn't want you to know that because you would think I was a prick. Oh, whoops. In all seriousness, it does drive me crazy when parents ask questions like, how can my child be a better hockey player? How can they move up the ranks? How can they excel? Now, these questions are harmless enough, although a bit misguided, as normally the answers that people are looking for are something simple, easily attainable, and quickly achieved. This is where the rage comes in. Normally my answers are simple, but they certainly don't land in the area of easily attainable or quick. People hate to be reminded that becoming better at something, becoming great at something, whatever it might be, is never easy. And that's especially true when you're talking about their kids. Life doesn't work like that. And sport, very much like life, certainly is not something that you can achieve greatness in by giving anything less than your best. But we're getting a bit sidetracked. Now, as I said before, these are honest and harmless questions. Just parents trying to do what's best for their kids, and I empathize with that. I want what's best for my kids. I want to see them excel in everything. But I know from my own experience that everything comes with a price. The price that I'm talking about comes in two very different but equally important realizations. Number one, losing sucks. So this might seem like a very obvious thing, but hear me out on this. Losing happens to everyone regardless of who they are or what they're doing. Failure is a part of life. And the sooner a child realizes and learns to gain what is needed from it, the sooner they'll be able to overcome it. I failed in my hockey career. I failed a lot. There were times when I felt like I failed myself, my team, my coaches, and yes, even my parents. I would feel terrible after my parents poured time, money, energy, resources into my development in hockey, and I would step out on the ice and underperform. Fail in a tryout, get cut from a team, or choke during a pivotal part of a game that would cost my team a potential victory. But in time I realized that I could learn so much more from these failures than I ever would learn from the victories. And how was I able to accomplish this? Well, it's not because I had some divine intervention or some grand epiphany, because let's face it, the only clarity a 10 or 12-year-old is going to have probably involves finding a secret level in a video game, or even more likely coming to the grips and the realization that their parents grew up in a world without cell phones, internet, and probably did things on any given day that would have killed them. Come on, we all had a set of real lawn darts. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. So I didn't come to this realization on my own. I had some help. It was my coaches and yes, my parents that allowed me to see this. I had coaches that were rough on me when I needed it and just a pat on the back when the situation called for it. They would guide me, get me to focus, and challenge me to do better. My father would give me feedback and encourage me to do extra training that would improve my game. He supported me and never once in my life told me I was not good enough, not fast enough, not smart enough to play at the top level. It was always, you want this? Good. Then what are you going to do to get it? Hell, he even went so far as to convince the coach of the AAA Pee Wee team when I was just coming out of Adam to let me help out on the bench during the games. And in return, I got to attend the practices, get extra ice time with players that were significantly better than I was and 2 to 3 years older than I was. This was a changing point for me. This was a turning point. This is when I saw my game excel because I was being challenged to such a degree to improve to be able to keep up with these players. Now, that being said, I did have coaches go up one side of me and down the other from time to time. I got benched. I skated extra laps. And when the coach was done with me and it was a particularly bad performance on my part, it was time to face my dad. Not a pleasant experience. But he wasn't doing this to be mean. It always ended with, so what are you going to do different? What have you learned? And where do you think you can improve? Now, that's not to say that all these learning moments were simple. Often my father would be angry with me, and it wasn't just because I failed. That would have been easier, to be honest. No. He would become frustrated with me because he saw the potential in me, and it would frustrate him to see me fail when it was obvious I wasn't trying my hardest. which is a good segue into our second point, dedication. So this one again seems pretty simple. And to be honest, on the surface it is. But I find that dedication is something that people struggle to grasp completely when placed into the context of development in sport or anything for that matter. So let's crack this open, shall we? The Cambridge Dictionary defines dedication as the willingness to give a lot of time and energy to something because it's important. Now, this may not come as a surprise to anyone, and again, I'm not saying that you and your kids are not dedicated to development. But here's where the price I mentioned earlier comes into play. Let's take a simple example. Let's say your child's team in the run of a week has 2 games and a practice, and they attend all of them. That would probably be about 4 to 5 hours of ice time, plus of course drive time, getting to the rink early to get ready, making sure everything at home is scheduled properly and all the stuff in your family's life is accounted for. But you make it work. Excellent. You are dedicated to the same level as all the members of your team. Now imagine that there were 2 more ice times in the week, that your child could get direction on skating, maybe puck control, personal and individual skills that would help them. That's probably 2 more hours a week, plus drive time and again, working around the family schedule. You're now up to, I would say, 12 hours total. You good with all that? Well, now you've stepped up your dedication to your development. What if there was an additional dryland training option to work on cardio, strength, and flexibility, things like that? Runs for about an hour and a half on a Friday night. Drive time schedule again needs to be brought into account. Bring your total time probably anywhere between 15 to 20 plus hours a week if you take everything into account. You still in? This is where a lot of parents and kids start to hesitate. Hockey, like a lot of sports, is a massive commitment, and wanting to become the best player that you can be requires a level of commitment and dedication that most people don't truly understand. It's been said that it takes 10,000 hours to perfect your craft, 10,000 hours to master your objective. That being said, let's say most kids start their hockey career at the age of 6 and finish up around the age of 18. That'd be 12 years. Well, 10,000 hours over the course of 12 years works out to be about 16 hours a week, roughly. You should probably check that, because, math and stuff. You would say, that's no big deal. You just stated that we're putting in 15 to 20 hours a week, so we're right on track. And what I would say to that is, you should probably go back and listen to that part again. What I said was the total hours dedicated was 15 to 20. The actual time that you would be spent training would only be 8.5. So congratulations, you're actually only halfway there. I didn't really want to mention that these practices and opportunities are only available during the hockey season that runs from October to March, maybe April in most areas. Just saying. So here's the reality. If the level of dedication to the child's development in hockey is the exact same as the majority of the other kids in the sport, then it stands to reason that they won't excel far beyond the other kids on the ice. Simple logic. But don't worry, because there is an upside to all of this. And it all comes down to choice. If your child makes the choice and the decision that they're going to dedicate themselves to every opportunity that they have to get better, then that is where you can see them grow in the sport. Doing every drill at their top speed and not cheating the drills or cutting corners, listening to the coaches and instructors when they offer feedback and suggestions on how to improve, taking some extra time to shoot pucks in the driveway or the garage to work on their shots, playing other sports that would lend themselves to the physical conditioning that is necessary for hockey, and truly learning and understanding the game on a deeper level. These are all things that they can do that can maximize the time that they can commit to the sport and their development. Like everything in life, it comes down to a choice. Do you want to get better at hockey? Well, that means you're going to have to choose to step away from all the comforts and distractions that surround us and truly commit to your development. If that is your goal, then everything you do each day should bring you closer to realizing that dream. Like I said in the beginning, the answer is simple. but it is far from easy or quickly achieved. But this is the reality. No one became the greatest at what they do simply by sitting back and waiting for it to happen or have it handed to them. No one ever accomplished greatness without failure and setbacks. If that were the case, we'd all be millionaires and living in mansions. Hockey, sport, life, it comes with a price. Nothing worth doing is ever easy. But I can tell you right now, if your child chooses this road and truly commits, they may hate it from time to time, but they'll never regret it.